Hi, it's Carla with the Double Duty Agent Podcast, and I am so excited you're here. Each week we get together and we explore the stories of successful double duty real estate agents. And from their stories, you can find the solutions to your challenges and the keys to unlocking your success. We've got an inspiring story today, so let's get started. I'm so excited to have Scott and Rhonda Smith with me here today. They have an exciting story to tell you about their journey from dual career to real estate royalty, at least in my book, because this is very special for me, because without your story, I wouldn't have my story. Because of you, I have the opportunities that I have. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's our pleasure that you've grown your real estate career through this as well.
Thank you. I am excited today. I want to start with your dual career story. So you guys remember that, right? It's a little bit in the Wayback Machine, just a little bit. So Scott, you were an engineer, right?
Correct. Yeah. I was an engineer at Allison Transmissions and actually loved what I was doing, loved my job. The only problem was I started traveling quite a bit with my job and probably traveling 4+ times a month and out of the office probably 3 to 4 days at a time, and wasn't necessarily able to see our family at that time. And we had some young kids at that time, which wasn't able to really see them.
Oh, so it was lifestyle. All right. And you were a nurse, right? At the same time. So he's an engineer. He's out of town. You're a nurse.
Yes. Yeah. I was doing most of between him being gone during that time period, I was a nursing student and having babies in college. We just got a little later start from the kids aspect. So for me, it was balancing him being gone, me having kids, and getting through school. When we made the leap to real estate, it was more lifestyle with kids, because then I was racing a school bus.
So I was working full-time. She was in school full-time, and I was also doing night school at the time for an MBA in finance.
And you actually started your real estate journey before you got your real estate license, right? Because you guys started investing in real estate?
Slightly before that, yes. Yeah, out of college, we had, from my sister, they knew somebody up in Indianapolis. Actually, the property was on Gladstone. And they asked us if we wanted to help them out and buy it, which we did. And we spent countless hours in there peeling 3 layers of wallpaper off at 2 a.m., stopping at the Waffle House for breakfast in the morning.
It was pre-kids.
That was pre-kids, yes. But we turned that house and flipped it. What was that, back in 1988, 89 probably? Yeah. And we made $5,000 on that first one. And we thought we were rich.
You were?
Yes. At that time, it was,
absolutely.
For us, we were living on a shoestring budget in college. And to have that bump all of a sudden, it really did. It was actually, I don't know.
You were hooked at that time. That's what got you motivated and into the thought of getting your real estate license then?
It was. I liked playing Monopoly as a kid. I always talked to my parents about buying houses when I was probably 10 years old. And they finally bought one of the rental properties next door to us. And they made money on that as well. And I tried to get them to buy another one too. But this is here again when I was in grade school or high school, trying to get them to do that. So, yeah, it was just one of those things. I knew that I was going to do that when I got out of college. I just didn't know to what extent.
Very cool. So I'm hearing a little bit like he got his license first.
I it was not on my journey to get my license. Like, I was perfectly content with my career path at the time. I'd always wanted to be a nurse. And so from us, it was just, from a family, we were investing in real estate, but to actually have a real estate license was not in the initial plan for me.
Okay. So you get your real estate license. What happens next?
I do get it, and I partner with the real estate agent that had sold us our first property, and he had told me, basically, you'll be back in a couple years. Not the property that we bought as an investment property, but the one that we lived in.
Your own home.
So our very first home right out of college. And he said, you'll be back in a couple years. And so he planted the seed in my head, and I thought, that was a pretty good script. And he was right, so I did call him back, but he started doing some foreclosures at that time, and I decided I wanted to start investing in real estate. And that combination, he ended up needing help. He was able to land a contract with Ford Consumer Finance at that time. It was at a time where we could actually, they would be financing the investors with 100% financing on their own properties. And so that worked out really well. And so I got into it at that time, not necessarily buying and selling through him, but he needed help, and I decided to get my license. actually right out of the gate started our own real estate company then. I took most of the properties that were outside of Indianapolis, and he took all the ones that were inside of Indianapolis. And we continue to grow it. I don't know how far you want me to go, but
So at the same time you're doing
Right.
this, you're still the engineer at Allison.
I'm
so
still
you're
the
doing
engineer
both.
traveling, yes.
Okay, so you're
And so we
engineer,
actually buy
traveling.
a couple of offices. We had an office out in Plainfield next door to the cinema out there. We had one right on Shelby Street, just a small little place. And then we ended up buying an office right down from my office on Allison on 10th Street.
Okay.
I don't know if they knew this, but at lunchtime I'd go down there in the office and work out of the office and come back at lunchtime, and it worked really well.
Okay.
I don't know if they knew it. I did this for 8 years.
I love
So
that.
it was from
this
1990
so
to
8 years.
98 is when I finally came in, and I was in pretty good. My mentor was the chief of engineering. So when I came in and told him I was looking at selling real estate, he said, do you know this guy Carlton Sheets? And I said,
That dates us, by
that
the way.
dates us. I said, yeah. He says, my wife watches that late night. He says, is there anything to that? And I said, there probably is, actually. And so he said, you know what, if you're in here telling me this, because I was pretty good friends with him at that time, he said, I'm assuming for me to offer you more money isn't probably going to get you to stay here. And at that point in time, I had waited until I was making the same, if not more money, selling real estate as what I was as an engineer.
Okay. So there's two things to unpack there. One is time management. So you have a family, you have a career that requires you to travel,
Yes.
and you started a real estate business.
So
How
you
did it
gotta
all
be-
fit in?
You have to be willing to work 2 full-time jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Work 2 full-time jobs. Is it a matter of scheduling, a matter of time blocking? I'm a coach. That's one of my things.
I'd get bored if I wasn't doing probably 10 to 15 things at once.
Okay.
And so I really would get bored. And so for me, it was just a matter of, even with Allison's, the one thing is that the harder you work, the more work that they give you. And so I wasn't somebody that was going to sit still. So they would give me more work at the same time, which I prided myself on being able to bite off more than I could chew and then swallowing it whole. Trying to do those things, but every now and then that catches up with you as well. But it got to the point where I couldn't do that, plus work there, plus do the travel. And it was a good time because she had already graduated. And so now she had a full-time job with benefits as well. Because where we were at, we had full benefits. So during that time period, we also had 2 kids. Mm-hmm. When some people say they're too busy to do things, it doesn't really ring too well with us.
Doesn't work for you.
No.
So it sounds like it was just a natural transition, though. You had built your real estate business to the point where it was replacing your full-time income, and you had now benefits coming in from Rhonda's new career.
Right.
And so it was a good transition plan. You had
And
a
we'd
transition
bought a few
plan and you
houses,
worked.
we'd flipped a few properties, but we'd also had a few rentals at that time as well.
Okay.
In fact, the very first rental that I had bought, we just sold a couple years ago. And it was right there by Allison Transmissions as well. So it was one that I could monitor. I could drive by at
what
lunch
was
if I
in.
had to monitor. So we bought several on the west side at that time. And since then, I think I only own one property still on the west side, but I'd bought that one years later.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So he's doing both. You're finishing school, you're getting your nursing degree, and you start your career as a nurse. And how do you get sucked into real estate then?
He'd been after me for a while because as the real estate business was starting to grow, he was needing more help in-house. And I fought that for a little while just because I loved what I was doing. So I didn't leave a career that I didn't
We
love.
both loved what we were doing.
Yeah.
We loved our
It
careers.
wasn't that I was trying to get out of my career path. But at this point, our kids were starting to be grade school age. And so in my profession, I was missing school parties. I was racing the school bus. For me, I worked for a foot and ankle surgeon. So if that ran long, I was having to have kids try to let themselves into the house. And when my daughter got into 1st and 2nd grade, she was starting out with some struggles that I thought, okay, now's the time. I need to be more present and home. So I more made the decision that, you know what, I'm going to be a part-time stay-at-home mom. I'll help out at the office a little bit. I walked in and was pretty much full-time in real estate from day one. And we just went from there. Like for me, again, it was more about the family and the kids for that choice. But now that I look back, I didn't miss out on milestone moments, the things that they did. We were always at their activities, and really for both of us entering into the flexibility, we were able to run full-time business, but be present with our kids.
Yeah. So it sounds very much lifestyle driven.
Yes.
And that freedom and flexibility.
It was family driven.
Family driven. Okay. I love that. Now, did you get your real estate license and were you a nurse and in real estate and a mom, or did you just make the jump from nursing to real estate?
No, I got my real estate license first. So again, some of the things that I was doing, it wasn't 8 years worth. I mean, it was within the year that I made the transition and went over. Because again, for what we needed at the time, I was literally coming in to more do the back end of the business from a books standpoint and just keeping track of things and putting some systems in place for us for the amount of business that he was doing at the time period. So for me, I was able to do that for a short period, but it was a little quicker than what he did.
Okay, I love that. All right, so I want to go to where you guys are right now, but before we do that transition piece, you guys, I said earlier at the top, you own a market center and you're business partners with in 16 business centers, all here in the state of Indiana where we live. And so you've seen a lot of dual career agents come through your brokerages, your brokerage. What do you find to be the biggest challenge for dual career agents as they start their career? What do you think that might be? Or
obviously, number of hours in a day. Like we all have to realize that if you're working in another career path, they actually expect you to show up to get your paycheck. And so it's where do I fit in my real estate time? I think that they face that security in a paycheck. Right. So you're going to bet on yourself. This is a commission-based industry and it benefits, right? Like you're going to go out and now you're an independent contractor. So I think that's in combination, it's very hard for somebody to just take the leap. And so again, a lot of times you'll see them straddle the fence for a little while until they feel a little more confident in what they're going to produce and make on their own.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty important too that you have support from your spouse. And in this case, I had support from my spouse, not only just emotionally and mentally to be able to do it, to make that change. Because there were a few other things that had happened in our lives that made me make that change, and which I can discuss that here in a second as well. But by her having another full-time job with benefits, that really helped. And then it was at a point in time where I could grow the business up high enough to where we knew that we had enough income coming in to where she could make the move as well. Because I was going to be paying somebody else to do it, so I might as well be paying her, and the rest is history from there. But we did at that time. It was more as far as, because we both left really good, decent paying careers with great benefits. And my dad worked for one of the airline companies, and he was forced out in an early retirement saying, okay, you got to go out with 3,000 other people or else you're going to lose your benefits. And so they were just trying to get rid of the older generation in there. So he took that. And then my father-in-law, her dad, he had worked for a company here locally, and he had worked his way up from basically all the way up to plant superintendent, which is second in command. And they got bought out several times, and they'd bump him up to plant manager, have him let go of all of his friends. Then they'd demote him back down to plant superintendent again because he got along really well with all the workers. And that happened 4 or 5 times. And then all of a sudden they came in and said, we don't need you, don't need you, don't need you.
Yep, it was just.
And so it was one of those things.
And he got escorted out after 30 some odd years.
Yeah, it was one of those things that we both knew from our parents said, you know what, the thing of company loyalty, whether that's still there like it used to be, may or may not be there. So we figured, okay, if I stay here a few more years, because I had 13 years in, because I co-opted, I was probably going to have what they called the golden handcuffs on. You're too close, too far in to where you need to go ahead and finish to retire there to get a pension on there. It turns out I still will get a pension from there. I could start taking it now if I wanted. But either you're going to stay and you're going to be locked in, or I need to make the move now. So we decided to go ahead and make the move, and the rest is history.
I love that. So I'm hearing partnership. And then let's go back a minute to time, right? So you got multiple jobs, you have family, you have travel, you have business, you have time. And I know Scott said that he likes to do multiple things at once, which may not be the best thing for everyone.
No.
How did you handle the time, juggling your time? between all of the things?
People have asked us that over the years, and I don't know what that was about. If I look back now, people are like, how did you do that? You guys are crazy.
We just did it.
We just got up and did it. I don't know that we really thought about it being too much or that we were overwhelmed. We were obviously, you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes that's a bliss. But I think for us, we knew how to work hard. Our work ethic was there. And so we treated our real estate business as though we got up and went to our other jobs. The things that we didn't know didn't get in our way. It was just we got up and went to work every day. And so you just figure that out. We worked it around kid activities. And so there again, we still had the same amount of hours in a day that everybody else did, but we just did it.
We didn't work from home at that time. We went into the office. That's where we were making a living at.
Yeah. And it's become a family business, I know, because your son is now in real estate as well. And we have a market center. So you want to talk a little bit about your transition from now you've gone from dual career to full-time partners together. And you have another business partner at that time as well, or?
I was an independent at that time. We had probably split ways probably around 2000, I'm guessing, 2000, 2002. Somewhere in that time period, about the same time she came on full time. And yes, there were reasons that occurred, and it was long term. It ended up being the right move for all of us. But then we decided too, as a real estate office, we had about 12 people in our office at that time, but we were specializing in foreclosures. We started bringing on a couple of normal retail agents as well. But at that time, from about 1990 to 2002, actually till about 2010, I pretty much concentrated my team and my efforts on foreclosures.
Okay.
So, which is a niche business. And it's also the time frame that you work that is normally during the week, and your weekends are off because your asset managers are off at that time too.
There's a lot of pre-technology. Mm-hmm. We were using fax machine and Polaroids.
Polaroid cameras to do today you create your pictures or you send an albums of pictures, where back then you had to get a legal sheet of paper and label every photo on there. And then you had to overnight it to the asset manager.
Well,
so it was
something too. The fact that we started out just family owned. Again, this was independent. What we knew at the time was to work hard. What we didn't know was the plan we should have had in place. And what we were discovering is when we came to Keller Williams was that in our previous professions, we had mentors. We had people that we were surrounded with that could help us grow in the respective careers. And we didn't have it in our real estate world. Like, again, we were succeeding, and we were succeeding by showing up every day. But in order to scale, we had to get around other people. And it's why we made the move when we did, because we needed mentors in our life. As an engineer, he could look to his left and his right and talk to somebody. And when it was just us, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so it was
the real estate business was really competitive at the time, so not a lot of sharing.
But there were different options for us to go as far as different franchises we were looking at, or whether we wanted to take our own independent and grow it further. And so we did look around and look at the different options that we had. And so we were on a trip at one time, and we decided, okay, if we're going to do this, go look at it. So we went. I flew back to Austin, and she flew back home to check out Keller Williams. And so we had already looked at a couple of them, but we looked at Keller Williams because a lot of it was their values that they had. Their values are God, family, and business, which aligned with ours at that time. But we thought this is a different approach, but did their leadership really walk the talk? And so by going down there, we saw that, hey, they seem like they really do. And not only that, but we knew that we needed more training for our agents, or else we were going to have to hire that, teach it ourselves, which that wasn't, my specialty was foreclosures at that time. So we needed somebody else with that expertise that had it.
We needed diversity in our business.
And what we found out was not only did they have the training for the agents, but they had the training, the leadership, and the mentorship for the leadership of the office as well. And so that's what really drew us in that direction at that time. And so it's really been helpful for us. We've received a master's or training in leadership probably through Keller Williams, more so than what we would have received in a master's program at any of the colleges that we did go to.
From where I'm setting, I'm going to go with a doctorate because I think you guys are much better leaders than just a master's level leader.
Our original drive to partner and affiliate with Keller Williams was not to own a brokerage. That was not the original. We did it because they weren't here, and because of some of the due diligence that we did, we felt that was our best route to go. But they weren't in Indianapolis. There was only one other office on the north side that had opened about 9 months prior to us. So Keller Williams was more unknown here. We initially did that for our own team because we knew we were hitting that ceiling of scalability that we need to figure this out. And so for us affiliating, it was literally for our team to begin with, but we just happened to be the ones that had to do it because it wasn't here for our side of town.
Which made you trailblazers.
We were.
In this area.
And that was tough.
I
We
can't
sat for
imagine.
2 years about trying to trailblaze, and then we ran right into the downturn.
Right. And their model, the way that they had it set out was, and they've changed that now, but the model is that you run in the red for probably the first 2 or 3 years before you ever start seeing it. And by golly, we did.
Yeah. We made that move in 2004. And so we knew by 2006 the turn that the industry, what we were facing from a market standpoint, and that downturn happening at that time period. So it was a very crazy time to be starting a new company and trying to grow it. And we were surrounded by companies that had been there. These were established companies in our area that, again, we didn't know what we didn't know because we weren't coming from necessarily the brokerage angle. We were coming from what we needed as a team. And
Luckily we had the team
now.
at that time too, because the team, we were living off of the income from my team at that time.
So it just occurs to me that you've gone back to being dual career again. Because
Correct.
now you have a real estate team and you are building and growing a business with your real estate team. And now you are Market Center franchise owners with Keller Williams, a whole separate business. They operate very much the same, but 2 separate businesses. So now you've made the decision to go back to be double duty agents again.
Yeah.
In some ways.
For us, again, it goes back to our partnership, not only as husband and wife, but the way that we run and operate the office as well. First off, we want that to still feel like our 12 agent family ran business. So we do approach it that way, no matter what the agent count is. And then from our standpoint on how we divide and conquer our roles in the office, again, we're very much in tune in the way that we do that, but we did have to, who's going to do what? And some of our roles have changed throughout
quite
the
a bit,
year.
because she's the operating principal now. I used to be the operating principal. And then after she was on the team for a while, when we came into Keller Williams a couple years after that, she took over the team leader position at that time. Now, what's unique about that is that I was the one that had to hold her accountable for that particular
That
position.
worked so well.
Okay.
We hired a coach. We got us a life coach. It was
the
great.
coach that we had, we ended up coaching at the same time. So he actually became a life coach for us at the same time.
So not a marriage therapy counseling coach.
Everything.
Actually, yes. He told him when to buy flowers.
That's so fun. All right. Oh, yeah. So I'm assuming you've had to do pretty much everything, all of the positions inside of the market center as it was growing.
I think that does have something to do with on the front end. Now, we can talk all day long about how you leverage to scale. But on the front end, you roll up your sleeves and you get in the trenches. And we literally have sat in every chair.
You do
Sometimes
everything.
not when we wanted to, but
I still do everything. I think I've still got a maintenance hat. I still put that on every now and then. But you still do whatever you have to do.
Yeah. We assembled every desk in the office. He would be under the desk trying to, your computers had to be
Plugged
hardwired in. Like we were literally setting up every computer and then pretty much every role in the office. Like we, at one point, whether we intended to or not, had to sit in each one of those chairs. So
I love that. I've had a flashback of Rhonda being out of town, Scott being on a broker call with all of us from a lift above the building. Oh. And he did what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I had my lift outside up on top of the building. Yes.
So I love that. You find you guys do it. I will tell you the family feeling, it's definitely there because I feel like part of the family. So I appreciate that very much. Okay. So time, we talked about time. We talked about that figuring out how to fit everything in. What's your best piece of advice to agents that are they're dual career or they're thinking about starting their real estate career, but they can't give up that security like we talked about. So they're going to be double duty agents or dual career agents for a little bit. What would be your best advice for them?
They first need to understand how much time they can give. What are they going to commit to? Because even if it's 2 to 4 hours a week, right? Like, how committed are they to the 2 to 4 hours? Because you can do more than what some say. They might say, oh, I'm a full-time real estate agent, and it's not as concentrated. We have so many successful dual career because they understand in the time that they have to give, they're actually real estate focused. And what they do in that time actually matters. It always goes back in real estate to building a database, working that database, and putting systems in place that work while they sleep. You've got to be able to, and where you affiliate
Correct.
matters.
Other job.
We're very, in our office, we are very, training is absolutely important. Self-development, making sure that agents have coaches and resources. We have economies of scale. Half the battle is like knowing that you have a team around you. And that to me gives the agent the most amount of leverage on the front end. You don't have to do everything yourself. You just got to be willing to let go of some things. And so getting around people that can, again, we didn't know what we didn't know back then, but now you can surround yourself with people that can get you to the other side. So again, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with good people that have done it before and can help you through that. But it's really all about what they do in the time that they have, that they can commit to it.
And I'm also hearing leverage. So leverage to add time. Leverage gives us a bonus, right? A bonus time.
But you either leverage
sometimes
through people because we have resources within the office. The other option is you might join a team to begin with. And a lot of people think, well, yeah, I knew that, but I'm working for somebody else and I want to be my own independent agent. Yes, you might. But what you learn during that time period, the number of transactions that you do is invaluable as far as just the lessons. I mean, if you read different books like by Robert Kiyosaki and everything, he says, sometimes your first jobs is you volunteer for just to learn the job. And for this one, if you join that, the number of transactions that you do, and then actually you may find out, well, if you really look at the P&Ls of an independent agent versus somebody on a team, it's not that far off because now all of the things that the team might be doing for you, the solo agent has to pay for or do themselves, and they don't have the time, or they have to spend the money to do it. So either way is good, but it primes the pump as far as where you're at, and it gets you going much quicker than what you normally would.
And it's really not even a right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, it depends on how that agent wants to get started. But there's one size doesn't fit all, right? Like we always say that. I feel like a broken record on that. But again, it's literally getting around other people that can help you to the other side of that.
Yeah, but I would also recommend talking with other people who have done it, because if you are doing that, there's the transition as far as when you're working both jobs, as far as what you do. So we've got advice as far as what to do at that time. But when you do make that break, make sure that you either have a nest egg set up there to where you don't have to depend on the first deal, because when you do that, you may have deals already in the pipeline, but it may take a month or so before you actually get money coming in. So make sure that you have 3 to 4 months set back, or you have another source of income, whether it's through a spouse or somebody that may have that. Also, make sure that you have insurance. Try not to do that. There's different ways of having the insurance today that's actually far more economical than what it used to be. There is the traditional type of insurance. We use MediShare, which is a Christian type of Christian-based insurance, which for us, it saved us probably 2/3 of what we were paying.
Okay. Lots of options.
Lots of
options.
options.
So I'm hearing have a transition plan ahead, right? I heard that. So plan ahead. I also heard commitment, right? We got to figure out how committed we are. There's a difference between interest and commitment. We need to make sure we're committed to however many hours we can commit.
Right, because a lot of people want to get into real estate because they think it's going to give them more time and more money. And that becomes a myth, because especially if you think it's going to give you more time and you're treating it like a hobby, most hobbies cost you money. Okay, so that's not going to be there. You have to understand that you're going to have to commit the time. Your time is more flexible, okay? So you can. So as long as you can balance, but you have to make sure that you're still putting the time in.
Yeah, I love that. All right, let's talk a little bit about mindset, because I think having been a dual career agent, sometimes you get overwhelmed with the thoughts of those limiting beliefs that we all talk about. So what kind of mindset do you think a successful double duty agent would need to have?
First and foremost, that it's possible that you can set this business up. And I think when you go into any other type of career path, whether that be a trade or whether it be you're coming out of college, you usually know this job, I could make X amount of dollars. If I'm a teacher, if I'm a nurse, if I'm a doctor, if I'm an attorney, there's a starting pay that's in your head. And from a real estate aspect, you need to understand if you're going to be dual career and your aspirations are to transition, then you already have a starting point in your head what you need to replace, depending on what career path you're coming out of. And so I think it's from a mindset standpoint, just having a financial understanding of what it's going to take to replace that. But first and foremost, people are successful at this, and it depends. You get out what you put in this one. It's not like what Scott said when he was an engineer, the harder he worked, he didn't always make more money. In real estate, you can make just name me any profession out there, and I can show you how people have scaled a business to make that X amount of money that they want to make. So again, the limiting beliefs is that, oh, this isn't possible and I could never make that amount of money. I can show you people that are doing it right now every day, no matter what the market is.
And that's what Double Duty Agent Podcast is, right? We're going to tell stories week after week of successful agents so that they can find those keys to unlock their success.
Right. And there's so many ways that you can make money in real estate. It's not just through buying and selling properties either. So that's probably another podcast as far as what we talk about with how do you do that? What are the other streams of real estate that you can make this and actually make it a passive income for you?
I've heard you say that before. Let's not have your next closing potentially be your last source of income, right? It's the way it works.
And probably for Scott and I, our stories are different. Even though we've done this together, our stories are different. And I can tell you now, being on the other side of this for 20 some odd years, I would not have been able to get that time back with my children. When I look back now, the fact that I made that leap and started as a dual career and came into agency, like I look back now and it's priceless. Like I am so grateful of what this career path has given our family and our children. And as you said, we do have a son. It's not in the same role. He is an IU grad with a double major in accounting finance and some tech
Triple
thrown
major,
in there.
IT as well.
He's got one more. He's serving in a different capacity, but from what we've built, and this can be legacy that we are now able to hand down to both of our children, even though one's not in the business with us. There's a lot of things, their lifestyle that they've had has come from the fact that we started as dual career.
And now you're in real estate with a flexible schedule and you have grandbabies.
We're starting this all over again. Yes, I have a soccer game in the morning.
I love it. Now, she mentioned IU. I know you got to get this in.
Yeah, my undergrad's at Purdue.
Everybody eye roll right now.
Yeah, you can. But actually, as an engineer, though, I would tell you that the people that were around me at Allison Transmissions, I loved them. One of them is still a partner today in my storage units. I've got some great people that were around me at that time. Purdue was a great place to be. Actually, she lived on campus with me as well. So
yeah, we started out in married student housing. Yeah. It was the bomb.com. It was awesome.
Bomb, what
we
kind
did,
of bomb?
but I did. Yes, I ended up going to Kelley School of Business as well. But that was while I was at GM at that time too. But that was at the same time that she was in school, that we were having 2 kids. So we kept busy. So it was a good time, but it built character, no doubt.
And with that being said, there were nights of tears. Like I'm in school, he's working, he's traveling. I can remember like just being so tired sometimes and him helping me write papers for school that he had no idea what he was writing. And I'm trying to halfway, catch some sleep on the couch and he's up trying to type a paper from my handwritten notes. And so it doesn't come without some sacrifice. I know sometimes we want to talk about, we're on the other side of this and it's all good. I can tell you there's the good, the bad, and the ugly with doing it, but it was worth it. When we look back now, we know those long hours have now put us in a position that we can help other people do this.
And we had mentors that take us through that, because we've had downtimes. Like there's been different struggles within the market center as well, as far as and they were growing pains as we went through those things. And at one point in time, we looked at each other and said, "Is this a business worth owning?" And we had mentors within there that had been there before us and said, "Hang in there, keep doing it." And we said, "Okay, we're going to bury our heads for the next 5 years and go into this as well." And we started making it. We went past the tipping point and we got it to a point where it is a career and a business worth owning.
Yeah, surround yourself. And if we give any advice at all, surround yourself with people that tell you can do this. And they get you through those tough moments. Because if you have somebody that is doom and gloom, or you're surrounding yourself with, I can remember people saying, you will never have a 200 agent office. You'll never have that.
Never have a 100 agent office.
And we only did for a short period of time. Now it's how many agents?
We are just under 400.
Actually, it took us a long time to get past that 100.
Oh, yeah.
And then to the 200. And now we're nearing 400 agents now.
You just don't surround yourself with people that tell you can't do something.
Yeah, you can. I love it. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Your story is so inspiring. Not only, it's always been inspiring for me. So I'm so excited that you agreed to let me share it to everyone else, because double duty agents, dual career agents, they make up a large portion of the realtors in the country. And so they need to know what's possible for them.
It's a very low percentage that actually go into the real estate field like straight out of high school. Like most people have had a previous career history before getting into real estate.
Yeah, and maybe are bringing that career with them. So you guys have given them a lot of really good choices that they can make, actions that they can take, and mindset thinking, mindset changes that they need to make. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Wow. Now, how is that for inspiring stories times 2? Thank you, Scott and Rhonda, so much. So each week on the Double Duty Agent podcast, after we hear our inspiring story, it's important that we do something with what we've learned. So each week we're going to have our keys to success. And our keys to success are going to be 3 different keys. We are going to have choices. We are going to have action, and we are going to have mindset shifts. So what did you hear in Scott and Rhonda's stories about the choices that they made? Well, I have 2 that I want to talk about with you today. One is commit. There is a difference between interest and commitment. Scott told us hobbies are expensive. If you treat your real estate like a hobby, it is going to be expensive. So commit, super important choice. The next one is align. What we mean by this, you need to choose business partners who are aligned with your needs and your values, and who are going to provide you with the support, training, coaching, all the things that you need to be successful. And when I talk about business partners, I'm talking about a lot of different entities. I am talking about your brokerage, your managing broker. I am talking about the coach, your mentor. I am talking about the vendors that you work with. You want to make sure that everything is in alignment, because when everything is in alignment, then you're going to have flow and things are going to be easier. And if there's anything that a double duty agent needs more, it is flow and ease, because this is hard, right? So commit and align. Those would be my 2 choices as keys to success today. Actions. Rhonda told us building a database. If you've read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is a book written by Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, and Dave Jenks, you know that building a database is important. Gary Keller says your database is your business. Your database is just simply all of the people that you've ever known with their contact information, so that you can let them know that you have your real estate license and you're available to help them with their real estate needs. Remember, we're double duty agents. We are not secret agents. Secret agents have no business. Also, we need to surround ourselves with the right people, with people who can help you succeed and people who tell you you can do this. Take a look at the people around you. If you're not getting this message, you can do this, then you need to find some more people. You need to find some other agents, get a community. And we have a double duty agent community, and we'll talk more about that in coming weeks. But you can do this. I believe in you. You need to find other people to surround yourself with who knows that you can do this as well. and a transition plan. This is only for those of you who would like to transition from being a double duty agent to being full-time real estate. You're going to need a transition plan. And you heard Scott and Rhonda talk about creating a sound transition plan as a full-time agent and all the things that might include. And in coming weeks, you're going to hear more stories of agents who executed a transition plan and have moved to full-time real estate. My last key to success is mindset. Rhonda said, people ask her, how did you do it? Well, she said, we just got up and did it. So there you go. There's your mindset shift. Get up and do it. Recognize the need for hard work, especially when juggling these multiple responsibilities. When it's hard, we have to focus on our why. What is the goal? What is the purpose, right? Sometimes I've heard this phrase that our reasons, our why has to be bigger than our excuses, because some days you aren't going to want to get off work and then make your calls, and you need to focus on what that is. Just get up and do it. The next mindset keys to success would be risk and reward. We heard about embracing the uncertainty and the variability of the real estate market. And also, we talked about the stability of your job versus the limited growth in those traditional careers. So you have to choose. Right? You have this like a mindset and choice. These all go hand in hand. You have to choose. You have to focus on what's important to you and then figure out your mindset around risk and reward. And then the last key to success under mindset, may be the most important one for a double duty agent, for pretty much everybody, but it is prioritize. We have to get clear on the priorities, and we have to get clear on the fact that we can't do it all. We can't do it all. So we have to focus on doing only what really matters. We have to focus on the things that are going to move us forward towards our goals. Sometimes we get busy and we're busy for the sake of busy. And when we look back at what we did, it didn't move us forward. We don't have the luxury of that as a double duty agent. So to get clear on priorities and focus on doing only what really matters. So those are our keys to success this week. You will hear more about these in coming weeks. And next week, we have an exciting, inspiring story. Miss Annie Koppel is going to be with us. She transitioned from being a social worker during COVID into a full-time real estate agent who is now a leader of her peers. So I cannot wait to share Annie's story with you next week and dive into some more keys to your success. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Double Duty Agent podcast. I hope you're leaving inspired, and I hope that you found a key or two that you might try out to see how they work to help you unlock your success. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss a single inspiring story. And if you know anyone, another double duty, dual career agent who might benefit from hearing these stories as well, please share our podcast. I appreciate you so much. And until next time, have a productive week. See you soon.